Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Raise a Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I have Julia Balaz joining me. For those of you who aren't aware of Julia does Galactic Astrology. I'm super excited. I've always dipped my toe in astrology, and I found her. She was doing a talk on a summit last year, and I'm so happy that she's decided to join us because I think this is a great new option for astrologers out there and for astrology and astrology geeks like myself who like to follow a bunch of people and kind of keep up to date on this as far as like star seeds go and where are we, galactically speaking. So for years, Julia felt guided to meticulously study astrological charts of her clients after their regression hypnosis QHHT sessions. She was looking for some verification on extraterrestrial information that came up in so many sessions. As a result of analyzing close to 2,000 astrological charts, including fixed star alignments, Julia feels called to share her research data confirming epic cosmic orchestration and influence of celestial bodies on our lives, supporting our collective evolution. A passionate researcher of souls journeying through cosmos, Julia shares her fascinating discoveries on her social media and in her online courses. Julia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Liz. I can't wait to see where our conversation will take us, which of the rabbit holes.
Right, I'm looking forward to that too. But first, let's go ahead and start. Like, what brought you to Galactic Astrology? What was your journey up until now?
Sure. So the intro that you read kind of gives you the gist, the short story, but to elaborate on that a little bit, I have had access to magazines in my early teens that were talking about extraterrestrial topics. So I was quite familiar from early on. And then later on, as I was always exploring, metaphysical topics and just browsing. Sagittarius is my signature sign, and I'm just always looking for expansion of my consciousness through various sources. So I was familiar with the topic of different extraterrestrial races interacting with humanity since the beginning of times, but the interest in it kind of comes and goes. And then when I was doing quantum healing hypnosis sessions, the regression technique taught by Dolores Cannon, as I started attracting clients that regressed to experiences that felt like not on Earth, or regressed to connecting with beings of light that they felt so deeply emotionally connected to, with such profound sense of love and healing and expansion and amazing answers to their lifelong questions, that's when I started diving deeper into the topic. Astrology was always with me, well, since my early teens, when I had access to books from the city library to astrology, and I was always fascinated about the conscious mind, subconscious mind, why I am the way I am. And astrology gave me so many answers and so much clarity. So out of pure curiosity, I was asking every single client of mine for their astrological chart. And then after their session, I simply enjoyed taking hours looking at their charts and just kind of reflecting on everything they told me about their life and then what they experienced during regression. And I just kept falling in love with astrology more and more, because it truly is all there. It really feels to me, and I have no doubt about this, that we really are fractals of the holographic universe, and whatever is the snapshot imprint of the sky at the point of our souls entering this physical incarnation, then the movement of celestial bodies is influencing our consciousness in our everyday experience, and in a very particular way. So for people who have a lot of Sagittarian energy in their chart astrologically, or a lot of Virgo, a lot of Scorpio, they love digging deep into this kind of consciousness expanding topics and into astrology. And there's just endless amount of life stories kind of validating that we really are moved by cosmos. We are like star dust, truly. And what is happening in heavens is then reflected in our own lives. With some of the regression sessions, some of the clients felt at some point that they are a star, or that they are a consciousness of a planet. And they felt like they have this outer perspective, zoomed out way somewhere in space, and they just felt like they heard the call of this planet Earth. She was calling for help. She was calling in higher consciousness because she was ready to elevate her own consciousness. She was willing to grow and expand and raise her own frequency. And it created like a ripple effect. I even have goosebumps saying it, that stretch out across this universe. And there were certain cosmic soul fragments that felt that resonance, and they felt drawn to this planetary matrix and projected their fractals of their being into physical reality. And in order for them to somehow stay connected with where they came from, they chose very particular time in space reality when they are born to this physical reality, while certain planets and star systems that are so far away from us are in precise mathematical or geometrical alignment with our planetary with planets in our solar system. So it's just amazing to see validating stories of this over and over and over again across many years. So to me, I just have no doubts that this universe is fractal, holographic, and we are part of something much greater. And this divine intelligence is just mind-blowing, you know?
Wow.
So, yeah.
That is amazing. So you're doing all of your clients' charts, you're sleuthing out like where they are in the universe and what is popping up. So what was it that you were seeing in their charts that was directing you to, you know, this galactic nature?
Yeah, so I think the most exciting things were when we found star systems that we were familiar with because they were talked about a lot in the spiritual community, whether it's Pleiades. There were many books already written on Pleiadian channelings, Sirius, Starseeds, Arcturians. So those were really easy entry points for me and for our clients to start reflecting on what we knew already from external sources, and then seeing if that frequency and those stories were also reflected in the client's life experience because they had those stars aligned to their astrological chart. And it was so. There really is. Each star system has its own frequency that manifests in a very particular way. And if you see people that have these alignments and they have very similar manifestation of that frequency in their own lives, it's like, oh my God. So you start seeing patterns over time. And that's what I feel I'm kind of good at, noticing patterns, and just through curiosity, creating a lot of data that then helps me see the patterns. And then when I started sharing it with people, the effect of the information, most of all, how they felt validated in their life experience, the clarity they gained, and just expansion of consciousness, and most of all, the many, many synchronicities that they then had that kind of enhanced their life quality. I loved seeing that the most. So somehow I kept being nudged to share more, and just magic happened. This beautiful community formed around me, and the information that keeps being revealed every day through other enthusiasts of galactic astrology I'm so inspired by the whole community and what we are discovering, and it still feels like we are only scratching the surface. There's just so much more. So it's very entertaining too.
This is a lot of fun. You talk about patterns. Can you share some of the patterns that you were starting to see in these charts?
Sure. Some of these I've shared them before, but for any newbies, hopefully there are people that didn't hear the story before. But the most easiest ones to spot are Pleiades versus Sirius. So if there are people who have Pleiadian stars conjunct, opposite, trine, sextiles, and I'll explain those perhaps later. If they have those in their astrological chart, you will notice, or we noticed over and over again, that these Pleiadian starseeds, we can call them, they have much higher frequency in terms of how fast they communicate and how fast they are absorbing information from outside in. They need to speak faster, and they need to for the speakers to speak faster, they would put the YouTube playback speed of the videos on 2.0 because they have no time. They need to, do many things at the same time, like multitaskers. And in comparison, if you have Syrian starseed, people who have Sirius A, Sirius B in their natal chart, then they are, in contrast, very grounded, very slow paced. They take their time explaining concepts. They prefer teachers and speakers who also speak slower. So it's just really interesting distinction between these two. Arcturian starseeds, people who have Arcturus star in the Buddhist constellation in their astrological alignments, they're naturally driven or inspired to healing modalities and to help those in need. They'll be the type of person that will spot a person in need, even if everyone else kind of ignores that person. They just always are wired to kind of compassionately connect to those who need help, who don't know maybe how to help themselves, and they kind of clean or absorb negativity from the environment and clean it through them. So it's really important to maintain energy hygiene for them. There's many others if you want me to keep going. Yeah.
So did you come by these characteristics from your clients, like you're reading their charts and this is how this person is behaving naturally in the world? So then you started seeing that repeating in other clients?
Yes, absolutely. That's how it happened. But the challenging thing at one point was seeing that what I call multi-galactic starseeds, that there are so many people that have multiple star systems in their astrology, and then what do I do with that? It becomes very complex. Mm-hmm. And so I started paying attention to which planet, how different planets manifest in connection to certain stars. Then I started to pay attention about astrological houses. We have 12 different life areas that are influenced by the transits or by the planets during our birth. So that started giving me deeper clues. So it's just like each time, astrological chart, the way I experience it is like a quantum map that it allows you time to study one layer of it. Once you grasp it, something shifts and you go deeper into it and deeper, and it's infinite. There is just so much data inside astrological charts. So some people are wired in a way that they can really intuitively tap into it and it starts opening for them. And then when they connect with the person and listen to the stories, they know what connects to what. So I guess I am wired that way. And what really helped, I feel, is sitting for 7 years with people almost every day for hours. The sessions would take 3, 4, even 5 hours, where I am holding space for someone who is in deeper states of consciousness, like theta or alpha or even gamma. Like they go through different brainwave states, and it also affects me. I was also in these altered states of consciousness with them, so I felt like my brain was prepared for quantum perspective where you can perceive past, present, and future simultaneously. And I've started noticing in time, in the last years of me doing the QHHT sessions, that it's becoming easier and easier for people to tap into these vast informational banks of our own soul memories and our ancestral memories and how it connects to stars. So I really can see the shift in our ability to tap into much greater reality than how it used to be,
Wow, it's so fascinating. And I love how you brought up past lives and other star systems. So what were you seeing in, planets that were showing up in charts or star systems that were showing up in charts, and how do they show us what our past lives are or what our star life? I don't know what terminology you use for that.
Yeah, one of the huge revelations about kind of the pattern of soul, like each soul choosing a theme that they wish to explore over many lifetimes, the big thing I was paying attention to that astrology savvy people will understand is lunar nodes. There is something called South and North Node. And when I started paying attention to that astrologically, what I found is that the past life stories, the themes that people were exploring were matching the zodiac sign and the houses of lunar nodes. So what I found is that a soul chooses a theme. Let's say if you have I have videos on that on my YouTube channel for anyone interested to explore this, where I go through every zodiac sign and every house with these lunar nodes, and I give examples of these past life regression stories of people. And then we can see the comments of people saying, oh my God, I have that lunar node, and this is actually what I always felt I must have been in a past life. Like you feel the presence of the story of previous incarnations with you. So then just kind of getting a validation of that with something that's written black and white in your chart is like, oh my God, I'm not just imagining it. There's really something to it. So then when people realize that there is no death, really, they feel inspired to master their human life experience and start consciously making an effort to evolve and become a better human being and make a contribution to the whole, and kind of starting to connect different puzzle pieces and becoming more empowered, but very humble, or what's another word? Yeah, humbled by the realization that there is divine plan or divine intelligence, and how can they make sure that they fulfill their destiny and higher potential. So I am glad to see that with the community that is forming around galactic astrology, people are taking this information very responsibly and with great humility, rather than ego boosting. I'm all this because I have all these stars in my chart, and now I don't really see that. So it's nice that we are mature enough to take this with great humility and respect. So
I like that you brought that up, because a lot of people in the spiritual community are discussing that, like taking, oh, I'm this starseed or that starseed, and kind of looking at it like egoically or narcissistically, and, not, like I am this, but not really doing anything in the world, for the world, in the community. Instead, just being like, this is who I am. Here I am. So talk about that a little bit, how we can use that in our life and not turn it into a label, but use it to actually go out in the world and, sort of serve a purpose or a mission for the planet, for up-leveling the frequency of the planet, or ourselves, our loved ones, communities.
Yeah, I do my best to mention this segment in every single interview I do, and throughout my online courses this is repeated several times to make sure, and perhaps that's why I really don't see that within my community. I honestly can't think of someone who would come with that frequency of ego driven individual, but I am aware it is present out there. So yeah, I keep repeating that, I can't repeat it often enough, the importance of keeping it simple. While we can get lost in this infinite amount of information, it can become a distraction, and you will feel that this discord when that starts happening, when you are too overwhelmed and it's distracting you from being in the present moment. So I always remind my viewers to remember the most important thing is love. And no matter what's in my chart, no matter who I was in past lives, it doesn't matter. What matters is who I am today, and how am I serving the world today? How am I making this world a better place today? That's really what counts. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you very much for sharing that message, because I think it's really important, especially these days. Things that are moving so quickly right now, and I think we need everybody to kind of step in and dip their toe or their foot or their whole selves into, evolving and emotional maturity and helping, their communities, the world, kind of up level a little bit and work out some of these little bugs that we need to work out, right?
Absolutely. Another part of this message that I like to highlight is the fact that this is just a stage. Like the Galactic Astrology is appealing to people during certain stage of their personal evolution, and they will get to a point where they will feel like they're ready to let go of these labels too. Galactic Astrology is really valuable for the period of time when we really need to let go of limiting beliefs about who we were taught we are in a really limiting way. There's so many people who grow up with environment that is not nurturing them to their greater potential. They are limited in so many ways. So seeing beautiful stars in their astrology, what I'm seeing with people who've been traumatized, whether just in a little bit or in extensive ways, they, for the first time, feel like something is giving them permission inside their being to let go of those limiting perspectives about who they can or cannot be. So it's very healing and it's expanding. And then they, it's like a break is taken off, the foot is taken off the brake, and they are reaching higher potential of their being. They're reaching for their dreams. So it's beautiful to witness that. But then at some point, as they kind of receive all that was there for them from the Galactic Astrology and the star families and all that information, they'll reach a point where they realize that too is a limiting perspective and just a label that they also then release. And then the next stage is just pure love and evolution, making this world a better place in their own unique way, following their joy, following their excitement, and then synchronicity leads them to the higher potential, and then usually co-creating with others and communities, because I feel that energy is becoming very, very strong on the planet, where we are coming together and helping each other reach our potential in a joyful way. So it gets simple after it's really complex with Galactic Astrology, but just these aha moments and synchronicities are really worth it, because you kind of want to gain clarity, and it's almost like remembering forgotten pieces of who you were. It's important process. Once you do that, you feel whole and you return to peace, and you don't need any of those stories. They are integrated. So you move on to just being joyful, blissful, happy, or just going with the motions of life, but in a state of peace and integration and wholeness. So it's beautiful.
I love that. That is beautiful. And I love how it takes from being this person in this little town or village and expanding it, not just in a worldview, which we have been doing in the past. People have been opening up to more of a worldview. I think going more worldly when the lockdown happened and everybody was forced to go online made us more worldly. But I think the Galactic Astrology gives us a possibility to expand even further and become, see ourselves as these cosmic beings, that we are part of the cosmos and not just Earth and not just the little towns, that we're part of, right? That we're much larger than that. And I think it also kind of triggers that mentality, like you were saying, that we're part of the whole. We are part of the system. Therefore, we should be doing things to help the system, the larger system, the cosmic system, instead of just, focusing singularly. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yes. So important. And what we found, what I believe based on so many stories, is that we are kind of collectively participating in something really epic. I do feel that as we remember in our physical bodies, with our physical brains, parts of the universal story from so many different star systems, somehow we are connecting and we're creating greater unity consciousness across the multiverse. I feel as we mature into that realization, we are helping upgrading the entire physical universe to higher octave. I really do feel that. So it is much bigger than just us here and now. And I feel we are creating beautiful seeds that will be nourished for future generations. I think it's really extraordinary time that we live in. I have no doubt about that. Yeah.
Same. I feel that too. What are some of the benefits that some of your clients are gaining from having this information?
They feel safer to come out in their uniqueness. They feel seen, heard, acknowledged through or validated through what they're learning about themselves through astrology. And especially then when you are within the community, like we have with the Galactic Astrology, others speak the same language. So it seems to me like people feel very isolated with that level of consciousness within their own environments. I would have that experience in my own physical environment too, but we are able to connect and feel included and understood through online community. So we kind of satisfy the need to dive deeper into these topics when we come together online, and then in our physical realities we can just hold that expanded higher frequency of greater connection and strength, and we kind of like anchor that frequency. It's a very powerful frequency of peace, love, connection, understanding, and all that. So it feels like we are together elevating and holding higher frequency wherever we are. So then I believe it can become easier for people in our immediate environment to start remembering spontaneously through dreams or waking up, because that was something also I've noticed when clients started coming to me for regression sessions, people from all walks of life who suddenly started thinking differently or perceiving these bigger thoughts and questions about the meaning of life, whereas before they didn't, or recalling their past lives or stories that they just couldn't understand, so they were looking for answers. So it is occurring worldwide, and we have no idea how much people, the neighbor, might be pondering, even though on the first conversation it seems like they're asleep, but actually you would be surprised how many people are going through just incredible inner journeys and experiences of consciousness expanding.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are some of the themes that you're seeing coming in as far as, like raising frequency, things that would benefit your clients that are coming directly from knowing like what planet, what star system, like how is that up leveling, and what messages, I guess I'm trying to say, like what messages are coming in through the readings that you're doing for your clients?
The importance of taking good care of the physical vessel, because they realize there is a difference between consciousness, energy, frequency, and so there seems to be greater self-love or better choices in terms of what they feed their physical bodies, not just through food and drinks, but also through electronic exposure, through events, through people. So people start to kind of clean up their environment and their vibration of their physical body, because there is a craving. There is a higher quotient for light, for consciousness, but the physical body needs to catch up. So that is like almost immediate first stage of expanding through galactic astrology. Even just seeing the alignments for the first time in their chart, the shift is already happening, and then they make these different choices through diet and through everyday habits. That seems to be a kind of common theme. And then choosing the environment, who they engage with, and just following their joy.
Nice. What would be the top message that's coming in, that you see repeating over and over and over again for people?
Through regression sessions, when they connected to their highest aspect, highest possible intelligence that they could access in that altered state of consciousness, it was repeated over and over to not worry about the doom and gloom messages, to just switch that off and instead focus on their immediate reality and following their joy. What is it that they are passionate about? What everyday choices make them feel elated, excited, more energized, and then just do that. And then they would be shown a kind of future potential timeline based on that, what their life will transform into when they just simply follow their everyday joys. One more thing I want to say, for people who don't necessarily feel they have the brain capacity for diving deeper into astrology or galactic astrology, what I found over and over through regression sessions is that you don't have to know any of it at all. Our intuition has that map. It fascinated me so many times that the client had no clue about their astrology, about their lunar nodes, the theme the soul chose, but whenever they had good connection with their intuition, with their heart, with their gut feeling, the choices they were making throughout their life were in perfect alignment with their astrological charts. So just follow your intuition, follow your heart. When something feels right, when you feel expansion of your energy, it's for you. That's the path that's meant for you, and something beautiful is there. If it feels off, if you feel like your whole body is closing down based on certain choice you're about to make, it's not for you. Just shift into following the joy. So I hope that's reassuring.
That's great advice, Julia. Great advice everybody needs to hear. Yeah. And do you see, is when you say synchronicity in your chart, is that what you're talking about? Like you're seeing like a
I mean synchronicities in your life, when events happen in seemingly magical way, and it you think about something and then immediately it happens, or just synchronicity. When they follow, when it's then reflected in their chart, I would have to start speaking astrological jargon or language to kind of explain it in an example, but everything means something in astrology, and when you know what means what, and then when you hear people's stories, you can see that there is a perfect match. Even if people would like to just start listening to my Galactic Ambassadors podcast, where I interview certified practitioners of galactic astrology, people who went through the practitioner's course, I share about their charts, and then they share their life stories, and it's just amazing how it's what we do in our life is written in stars. It's when you learn astrology, it's like you learn the language that is written in heavens, in stars. There's something really special about this divine intelligence that moves our lives.
And I'm glad that you included that intuition too, because I think part of intuition is that channeling from the universe, and following that intuition, following the breadcrumbs, that it's a co-creation of life, right? Not just, us going here or there. Of course, our free will can take us here and there, but if we give ourselves the opportunity to follow that intuition, we would start seeing those synchronicities more and more.
Big time.
Yeah.
That was actually... Yeah, go ahead first.
No, go ahead.
That was, when I was thinking about today, what is the message that I feel is important to share? It was about taking time to be quiet with just yourself, because we are so bombarded with information, like even this interview, but just it's so important, because that was one of the messages too that kept coming through the higher selves, for people to create space of solitude and quietness regularly throughout every day, because that's the only time when the higher selves, when our greater soul intelligence can reach us and communicate to us, when the monkey mind is quiet, and when we are not exposed to external voices. So if we can create more of that alone space in solitude, then we can open up to amazing guidance.
I love that. Thank you. Take us on a little journey into the astrological chart. For someone who has never pulled their chart before, they go online, they put in all of their information for the chart that you have, and then they go to look at the chart. How do they know what they're looking at?
Okay, so the website that we've created for people to freely access some of the most common stars and see if they're aligned to their time of birth. The website is called galacticastrochart.com. People enter their birth details, and then they'll, if they follow the simple instructions, they'll see what stars were aligned. At first, it can be quite overwhelming because we included many aspects: conjunction, opposition, trine, sextile, squares. These are all different geometrically calculated or mathematically calculated precise positions of stars in relation to the planets in our solar system, and everything means something. So for a complete newbie, I suggest you just focus on the conjunct alignments, meaning we had the Earth, we had, for example, the sun, and then the stars all in one trajectory. So that's like a conjunct. The frequency of the stars was coming beautifully through the sun to the Earth, or any other planet, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, and then the fixed star. That's the conjunction. Opposition would be when we would have the Earth, and then the, let's say, Mercury, and then the star, but it's through the nighttime. So daytime, nighttime matters when the star is coming through, when the information or the frequency of the star is coming through. So the conjunct alignments are frequency of that star system that is most integrated in your everyday consciousness, in your personality. And we would see that, for example, with people who have Pleiades conjunct any of their planets. You can really sense that Pleiadian frequency so clearly and so loudly. Even especially me, as I get to know that frequency over and over, I can spot it in someone without seeing it in their chart, and it's just a nice validation to then see it in the chart. It's just perfectly integrated. It's like one and the same, almost part of the personality. If we have opposing alignments, then what I found is that the frequency of that star was not really integrated, especially in the earlier years. It would come and go during the transits when the planet or one of the planets was reaching the point of that zodiac degree. That's when we kind of open up to it, but then it goes. And mostly we are not really accessing, it's not integrated, the star energy. And it's a good thing because, for example, with the Arcturian starseeds, the frequency is so pure, so compassionate, so loving and helping. If some of these starseeds that have never been in a physical density of three-dimensional world with polarity games that we have here, it would be really hard for them to have conjunct Arcturus, because it would be just such a big contrast for them. They need to first kind of adjust themselves to being in the physical reality. They need to kind of blend in a little bit. And then as they grow, as they mature, they're able to start integrating that opposing Arcturian star until they feel strong enough to handle it, because they learned about different personality traits, different games, you know, so they know how to handle humans and when to show their full light of Arcturus or when to kind of dim it. So there is a grace in oppositions like that. Trines and sextiles always come kind of like a blessing. They come and go in certain situations when you can suddenly access the gifts of that star consciousness in certain situations. And squares would usually come when there is some conflict that occurred, whether through your ancestors or through your actual past lives, whether on Earth or in other star systems with that particular star. And there is something there that still needs to be relived, and higher perspective reached, and integration of completely different aspects of you and the star system. So there's so many stories that are hidden within it. So for complete newbie, the easiest would be to first just start paying attention to the conjunct alignments, and then just Google, see if you can find information about star seeds from that particular star system that you find in your chart. If you sign up for the online courses, everything is there for you, but in case you can, for whatever reason, you just want to, you know, there's so many people that like to do things on their own themselves. They take their own journey. Just Google any keyword that you find, and you'll be surprised how much information is out there for free. And there's plenty on my own YouTube channel, on my social media, where I shared about these many different types of star seeds and themes that come up. So with that, I want to say that it's a journey. When you see all these alignments, you're like, oh my God, what does it all mean? I want you to take just a few deep, long breaths and tell yourself it's okay to not know it all now. I'm excited about this long journey that this will take me on, and I trust that at the right time, the right information will be revealed to me in the most amazing way. If you can kind of anchor that mantra in, it'll be really enjoyable experience long term.
I pulled mine before our call, and it's really extensive. And you expect to see maybe one, right? You go to your sun sign, mine's Capricorn. Then I see Sirius opposed. Then I'm like, okay, but then scrolling down, it's like, and this, and it's repeated
Yeah.
star system, star system, star system for each planet, right? So how would one decide, okay, that's the one I align with, right? Do we go by our sun sign or do we use something else?
Yeah, so on the website galacticastrochart.com, there is a meaning tab where we explain that planets that are the outer planets like Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, what we found is that stars connected to those speak of our most ancient soul history, really far distant, like the beginnings of our incarnations in physical reality. So they feel very ancient. The stars that are connected to the sun, moon, ascendant, they feel much more recent in terms of when we go into the soul memory records, we find that those were much more recent, and everything in between is kind of like between history. So there is a timing. However, this is only translated into the linear time sense that we have on Earth, that our brain needs to, unravel quantum information. But
Right.
some of these connections to certain star systems, many of those experiences are beyond time and space, especially through regressions. Many clients would go to a certain star system, to a certain planet where they didn't really feel physical in their bodies. They felt more like just balls of energy, radiant energy, light beings. And they would have had different colors and just felt one with all the other balls of energies, but at the same time, individuals. So when you live in higher densities, when you're not bound by gravity, like certain star systems and planets, they have completely different gravity, so time is different. So it's kind of tricky. We can only call it quantum.
After
So
doing this for so long and, figuring all of this, you figured it out, you're just amazed at what's going on. You're seeing, all of these repeating patterns, in people and all of these synchronicities. What have you found after doing this for so long? What does this mean for us?
What a amazing question. It is, to me, it means that we are all connected. We are I see a paradox of life throughout my experiences, where we matter so immensely. We are participating in something really important and really powerful, yet at the same time, none of it matters, because it just depends on what level of consciousness you look at meaning of our existence here.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at it from the physical perspective, there's really something so exciting and epic occurring, and we are all collectively realizing that we are in it together, and there is some divine plan, there is order in chaos. And then when we let go of our physical vessels and expand our awareness to that eternal beingness of our pure consciousness that we really are in essence, then this is just a game. And that was a huge message repeated so many times in so many sessions. It's just a game, it's just a game. And it was occurring in regressions, especially to clients who were really clinging onto their physical reality in a stressed way, where they were like so squared into what is happening to them, and they forgot the experience of joy of their just pure consciousness and just surrendering. So they were shown the much higher perspective that I'm talking about, and they were like, oh my God, it's just a game. And they were just they just couldn't get over it, but it really sunk in. They integrated it, and when they got up into their, better brainwave state, everyday consciousness, they were like, oh my God, I was just taking everything so seriously, but it's just a game. So there is a paradox in where it's both and neither,
I like that. And something to contemplate for a little while. This is just a game. Don't take it so seriously. How else can we use this information to benefit our lives?
Thank you. That brings me to one more important point. For some people, through exposure to certain starseed topics, they feel deep connection and yearning to align with certain star system, but then maybe they don't see it in their astrology. It gets more complex because you have your natal chart, but also then there are transits. You're evolving, your chart evolves in time, you grow, and you master certain aspects of your physical reality, and then you go to the next level. Like we are constantly moving and evolving, so you can be connected to these other star systems. And likely, if you really understood astrology, you would find that at some point in your life you reached certain major transit of powerful planet that hit the stars, the zodiac degrees of the star nation that you feel connected to. Like, for example, I would know of many people that at the age of, doesn't matter, 33 or 27 or whatnot, they visited certain location, which, by the way, had energetical imprint of the star system that they felt activated by at that time. Like everything aligned on that day when they suddenly unlocked the frequency of that star system, but it wasn't necessarily in their natal chart. It's like they finished part of their journey, something unresolved from previous incarnations. They were done with that, and then it felt like they were almost born anew, and a whole different reality is occurring for them. It's like a whole new octave of being, because they received activation in a certain place at a certain time. So there is just so much to it.
They're real.
Yeah. So I love recognizing that there are certain people that are wired to passionately love studying this, and they become the guides for those who don't have time and capacity to study this stuff for their entire life. So I think it's nice to recognize that we have people who we can turn to, who can interpret the chart for us. So if people go to galacticastrochart.com, there's a tab for practitioners, and these are people who live and breathe this stuff, so they can help them with decoding the information in their chart. And it's always whatever is most relevant and appropriate for them to hear at the time of their reading. Then if they connect 2 years later, there'll be other layers that they can tap into. So no pressure on anyone. The help is there.
That's awesome. And I do love, Julia, that the galactic possibilities have been being talked about for many years now, from Dolores Cannon and many other people, that have been speaking and channeling this information in for many years. I think it's fun that it came into astrology for you, and it's this new door that's opened up for people to kind of investigate, what the possibilities would be with these different star systems. I think it's really fun. And I think I've loved our conversation, and it's opened up a lot of different possibilities. And I think that there's a lot of different avenues, to go down, and it's a new technique and tool to be able to kind of discover ourselves and maybe what our past was, or, our present, what we could look to the future, and how are the different star systems have played a role. This is fun. I'm ready to dive into my chart after our call and kind of sleuth out a few things, on your website for sure.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this conversation too, and I hope it will inspire the viewers to want to learn more about themselves and just becoming playfully curious about, expanding the awareness of who they really are, who they can be, and just kind of having fun with this, not taking it too seriously.
I like that playful curiosity. I know for me, I was telling you before the call, like 5 years ago, I was listening to a speaker, John Alkin, when I started studying Edward Casey's work, and they send a DVD when you sign up, and I'm just cleaning the house, and all of a sudden he starts talking about Pleiades star system, and my whole body lights up. I had to like leave the room I was cleaning and rewind it and listen to it again, and then seeing it in my chart.
Uh,
With Neptune, what was it? Opposite. Pleiades opposite. So I think it's fascinating for, the possibility to be able to go in and kind of, oh, what does that mean for me? Right.
Really good. Can I ask you if you can check what is the house number next to Neptune, if you see that chart? So just
sure.
while you're checking, Neptune is a planet that helps us connect to our higher intuition. It can be sometimes deceiving in the lower octaves. It can be, there could be illusion about what is real, what isn't real. But in its highest expression, Neptune connects us to our divine soul guidance, our higher intuition. So having stars like Pleiades connected to Neptune would speak of very ancient soul history, so ancient soul connection to that star system, and beautiful wisdom that can come through you during moments when you feel really open to channel, to open up to that beautiful Pleiadian frequency. And I'm not surprised seeing you doing the work that you do. I see that so often with Pleiadian starseeds or people who have at least one planet connected to Pleiades. They become spokesperson, help me.
Spokespeople?
Yeah. Actively involved in the online community, and they are connecting others. They are like, webmasters where they bring information to wider audience. So it feels like you're perfectly aligned with your chart too.
Oh, that is one of my passions too, is bringing people's voices and their work to the world.
Beautiful. How Pleiadian of you.
Okay, so here's Neptune, and what am I looking for? Pleiades opposite Maya, sextile.
Next to Neptune, there should be a little number.
2915.
Okay, and then another number either between 1 to 12.
0.30. Oh, 15. 2915.
Between 1 to 12. So literally where you see Neptune, next to Neptune,
there should be I see 4.
4. Okay, house number 4. So 4 is the house of our home, our roots, our ancestors. So that's where you can access that Pleiadian higher guidance frequency the easiest. It becomes most natural for you, actually, because it's opposition. Then the Pleiades is actually sitting in your house of work, career, your public service. So it's very fitting that you see there. So when you're at home, you feel often really inspired by people that have that Pleiadian frequency, connecting others, communicating very eloquently, and speaking of these higher topics. So you can channel it when you are at work. That's where your Pleiadian side comes out.
100%.
I love it.
Ever since my 20s, I've been listening to speakers, and then when the online presence became really popular, I was always listening to summits and different speakers and that sort of thing, and feeling truly blessed that I'm able to do it myself now. So that's 100% true.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's
really
so fascinating, Julia. Thanks for sharing that. I think that'll help our audience too when they're looking at theirs and trying to figure out what's going on. There's a lot of information to be gained, everybody, from this chart. So I highly recommend going and checking it out. And there is a tab where you can search the meaning of everything, which I'm going to be doing too. And I hope you have fun doing it as well. Julia, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. This has been so fun. GalacticAstrology.com for people who want to learn more. And I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you for everything you do for uplifting this world and making it a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we go, would you like to share a jewel of wisdom to leave with our audience today?
Follow your joy, follow your bliss. It's the key, truly.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you, Julia. I appreciate you. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm Liz Peterson, and this is Raise the Vibe with Liz. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Raise the Vibe with Liz. And my website is liz'shealingtouch.com. Thank you everyone. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Have a great day. Bye.